All right, we're on week 13 and we have two experiments this week. One is called tilt and one is called sinkers. So here is the material that we're going to be using. We have a marker. We're actually going to draw on this little styrofoam ball, the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and then we're going to stick this little dowel into the styrofoam ball, and the tutor, whoever goes first, will do that. But anyway, so that's all for that. You can also make a little dot of where you live if you want for fun. Let's see what else. They said in the book to use a flashlight propped up on some books, and as you did to experiment, to have it kind of go around as you're tilting. But I thought that was kind of confusing because the sun is actually round and there's more light coming out. So I just thought having a little lamp like this would be easier, so I have enough I can bring them in for you guys for our experiment. And so anyway, so we just have it tilted to like 130 times. I'll explain it more later. Anyway, all right, so then that's the first experiment. And then the second experiment's materials, will need a plastic cup with a lid, water, just a little bit of water, 1 cup soil, and then these paper clips right here. So that's it. And I actually added one more thing, just a piece of paper with a flashlight, but I'll give you that too, and I'll explain what that's for also. All right, so starting with the first one, the tilt one, I always go over just a little Bible verse, and so mine is Ecclesiastes 3, 1-8. There's a time for everything, and God created the seasons. His word reminds us there are seasons for everything, and even us. Some questions we're going to be talking about is, what does Earth look like as it orbits the sun? What makes the seasons? Why is it warmer in Florida than it is in Minnesota right now? We're both in the same season. What is our purpose? To determine why some places on Earth stay light while others stay dark for months at a time. So then you can go through the questions, some research, how many seasons do we have, are there different temperatures, and then yes, there are, because the tilt and the orbit of the Earth around the sun affects the temperatures and seasons. There's some terms that I'm going to have for the little ones because they're going to have no idea what a hemisphere is, or orbit, or tilt, or they might know what seasons is, and maybe the North and South Pole. So I did write terms down there for you to go over if kids don't understand what we're talking about. Hypothesis, how will the light shine on different parts of Earth as it orbits the sun? Which part of the Earth will the light hit? Will some places be hotter while others stay cooler? Those are our questions. Okay, so now to the experiment. So like I said, we're gonna have this, we're going to stick our little dowel. Oh, look, it's already started. So anyway, we're gonna stick it in, it's gonna come out a little bit, and they say to tilt it to like about 1:30 on a clock, so about that. And as you go around, you're gonna have to turn it. So that's why you also wanna draw part of the northern hemisphere and part of the southern hemisphere, so they're gonna see and visualize what is dark and what is light. And if you do it correctly, there you will be able to see that in one part of the Earth it's dark, and then another one it's light, and that's the different seasons. I wrote that down here also, so you can read that more. Then I have one extra thing I added, just a piece of paper held this way, and then put a flashlight on it, and the kids will see that it's kind of a small condensed area. So on the equator it's really hot, and that's why, because it's very condensed, the rays aren't spread out. But then if you turn it and tilt it, the North Pole doesn't get as much heat because they're obviously spread out more. So I thought that was kind of another good idea of being able to show them why it's really hot in the middle and why it's colder. So that's just an extra one that I added. What did you observe as the Earth orbited? And then I just gave you information on that. You can read that all here. What did you observe when the light was shown in upright versus an angled position? And then the conclusion is just Earth moves around the sun, making one complete orbit a year. Means 365 days for the Earth to travel around the sun once. Our sun warms our planet with its light, but the tilt of the Earth axis makes one hemisphere get more sun during a certain part of the orbit, which gives us our seasons. And the rest you can read right here in the conclusion. Also, there's just some visuals that you can look at. This is, when you're talking about the seasons, you can pull out this one, and maybe some kids go, oh, what seasons are there, and which one is that one? And you know, if you want to draw it out longer, you can. You don't have to. I also have just a little picture here I did of the different solar systems, so you can see how big the sun is in comparison to our tiny little Earth, and just how like vast it is, how deep it goes. I think that kind of gives them a bigger picture. And then here's the cheat sheet for tutors if you want to know how to tilt your little ball and at what point to tilt it. This will give you the directions on that. So that's the first one. All right, now we're on the second one. This is about sinkers. This one is really kind of short, so I added for the older class a big devotional on the end if you guys want to read that with the kids. I thought that would be kind of neat. It goes through Job, and it talks about mining, which is kind of fun because we're talking about mining in rocks. Anyway, so the first part, how are rock, mineral, and soil layers formed under the ground? What do they look like under the ground? What is the name of scientists who study what the earth is made of? How is it shaped? And they'll say geologists, or you'll have to help them with that. They're kids my age. I also went through just a couple of different terms, rock, mineral, and soil. I wrote down the terms there so we can have specifics, and then I'll say today we're going to be geologists. What have you already learned about soil? Can we eat any of these? And they're like, no, but you actually can eat more minerals, because minerals are a lot of healthy things that are about minerals that you actually eat, like salt. And then, do you know what makes something sink or float? And we talked about this a couple weeks ago with if a substance is buoyant, less dense in the water, it will float. And we talked about the fish bladder that makes it float with the air in it. And we also did an experiment with the pennies and the nails and the marbles, so hopefully that'll jog their memory and remember. What do we still need to find out? What is the soil made out of? And then check the term up here, upper layer of earth, in which plants grow, black or dark brown. Anyway, how do layers form? All right, so our hypothesis is just how do you think the shaken jar will look after 5 minutes? So the experiment is basically this with water, and you put in the paper clips and the soil. That's it. So you just put it in and shake it. That is all. So it's a very short experiment. And then so you should observe all that stuff. Like that's why you look at the soil, what's in the soil and all that. And then talk about the different things weighing differently and seeing, well, maybe what will happen because of that. So then we'll go on to, then you let this jar stand for 5 minutes after you shake it. And then what did you observe inside the jar, both during and after those 5 minutes? And then the conclusion. And so in the conclusion, as it rains, water hits the ground and sifts, shakes, and loosens earth soil, similar to how the water in our jar loosened the soil into smaller dirt particles. Paper clips are made of metal. We know they're more dense than water, so they sink to the bottom. And then you can show them like the rock cycle. So here's a picture of the rock cycle, which maybe just helps solidify what's going on here. And then it goes on to talk about there's 3,500 known minerals. Some are metals like gold and silver and copper, and some are everyday ones like a pencil. If you have a pencil, maybe that'd be a time to show it up. We have graphite in this pencil, and that's a mineral. And then also, just trying to go over quickly, an ore is a rock with valuable mineral in it, usually a metal. Calcium is for bones and teeth. Iron brings oxygen around the body. So just go ahead and read through the conclusion if you want to add. So then at the very end is, I just have this devotional for the older class. And I thought this was kind of neat too, because this picture shows miners, and they're really in hard conditions, and how it's really difficult to get those precious jewels out of the rock, and how if they have flooding anytime can happen, or they can collapse because there's no air down there, or the earth will collapse on them, and just how they're so diligent at seeking that out, and how we should be like that in getting God's wisdom and being looking to the miners and how diligent they are and having courage like them. So anyway, so that is Job 28, 1-11. If you want to read that to the older class, they probably would enjoy that. And this also is one more thing for all the different kinds of minerals and different things that they're in. So I think that is it. All right.